Hey there. I apologize for the for the video quality of this because I'm sitting in front of a fire. It's April 10th. Pretty cold night, but a nice night for a fire. Anyway, I wanted to share with you something that happened to me over the weekend. I was contacted by a school in Korea. I got an email on, I think, Thursday, out of nowhere. I know that I'm registered with this ISS International School website, this website that's supposed to get you jobs in international schools abroad and out of the United States. And this place in Korea, I guess, was looking for a math teacher. And I think what they have is they have access to people who are registered as international school candidates to be teachers. So evidently this school came across me, and I got this email Thursday morning, right, that said, "We're interested in you, we're impressed by your record. Take a look at our school and let us know if you're interested and we can set up an interview." The email also said that it said, "Great teaching conditions, great students, so check us out." So I did, and I looked at the school, and it was a prep school, and the information on it online was pretty scant. The website wasn't the best. It looked like it was kind of old, but it looked like a really high-level school, as in all the kids were really smart and very dedicated, and they taught pretty much only AP where they could get away with it. Like, for example, their math program started at pre-calculus, and they went all the way through calculus BC and I think some other random math classes. Pretty much any AP plus a little bit more. I think they did multivariable calculus and all kinds of things like that. And I said, all right, cool. This seems neat. So I arranged for an interview, and the interview, it was my Friday night, their Saturday morning. And I talked to the dean of faculty or something like that, and he and he was telling me that it was a really nice school and blah 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 blah, and he asked about me, and we kind of got along, and I talked to the head of the math department, and we seemed to hit it off. He asked me some questions, and he liked my answers, and it all just seemed to be going pretty well. But I asked him about the duties of teachers outside of the classroom, because that's what I'm interested in. I'm confident that I can teach. Oh yeah, they wanted me for, I think, 3 sections of calculus. Only 3 sections, 2 of AB and 1 of BC, which is an extremely light load for me. I'm used to teaching 5. But it was 3 sections of calc with no more than 9, it was 6 to 9 students per class. And that was kind of a turnoff for me. I know that they say that small class size is cool, but I like a large class. To be honest, I'm kind of getting tired of teaching AP. I've been doing it for so long. I've been down that road so many times that it's kind of starting to get boring to me. It's kind of losing its luster a bit. It's too easy. I already know it. I've been down there. Anyway, I asked about the other duties that were required of me outside of the classroom, because the first place I taught, pretty much it was only, as long as you submitted your grades on time, there weren't really going to be any problems. There was almost nothing else academic-wise that had to be done. I mean, we had some other various duties from time to time, but that stuff is to pretty much be expected. As far as me in the classroom goes, I didn't have to turn in any lesson plans. I didn't have to answer to anybody. I did have to turn in exams and keys to the exams, which I always thought was kind of annoying. At the midterms and the finals, I always found myself running off copies of things. And I know that no one is going to look at this stuff. It's just going to get shoved in a drawer, and no one's ever going to see it. And it's not really going to mean anything. Oh, also, in my old school, we just handed in a grade. When we assessed the students at the end of the marking periods or at the end of the quarters, it was just a numerical grade. At my more recent school, we had to submit a grade, and we had to type up like a little report for the student. We had to write, they called it a comment, which was pretty much, it was expected to be a couple of sentences, at least a solid paragraph, saying how the student did and whatnot, which I was never used to. And hey, let me tell you, it is a lot of work writing comments for 70 students or however many you have, especially I mean, nobody nobody told me about this, and I didn't find out about it until the end of the first quarter when I actually had to do it. And it's just a mountain of work, particularly if the students aren't really very active in class and they don't say a whole lot, or maybe they're not really, even if they're not doing so hot, that gives you something to say. But for the majority, for a lot of students, there's really just not a lot to say. But anyway, I asked him about that, and he said that yes, that was a part of it, that I had to write a little report up at the end. And he also said something really vague about tests and exams and something being submitted to the Korean government. And that was like a red flag. I'm thinking, what is this? That's really bizarre to me. But otherwise, the interview actually went pretty well, and both of the people seemed like they were interested in me, and they said that they hook you up with a nice apartment, 3-bedroom apartment within driving distance. You could probably carpool because everybody lives in the same place, and it sounded like a pretty sweet deal. The money was also pretty good. He said something like 55 to 57,000 or something, commensurate with my experience and my degree and all that, which was not, I mean, and a free apartment, that's really not a bad deal at all. So it was a really sweet pot. But this Korean government thing really, it was bothering me. And, you know, this is a really big decision. If I move to Korea, I'm leaving something behind here. I'm leaving my woman behind. I guess I could find a way to take her with me, but that's a big hassle. Anyway, the long and short of it is that it's a really big change in life, and it's not something that I would take lightly. Oh, also, when I did search online, I read one review that was really, really bad, that said that the teacher turnover rate is really, really high, and the kids are great, but the administrative part of it is just a nightmare. And the comment also said that there have been several midnight runs by the American staff where they just quit overnight and just disappear and run away. So that was making me think, like, whoa, man, maybe this isn't quite for me. I mean, it sounded good, but it sounded risky at the same time. But I was honestly considering it because I didn't really know. I mean, the bad stuff I heard was really only hearsay, and I didn't have anything to really substantiate it. So, but it was really, you know, it was tough to think about because it was a job in Asia. I've been looking at Asia. They made a pretty good sales pitch, nice benefits, good pay. But there was something about the way that they told me about this administrative thing that really just didn't sit well. So what I wound up doing was, the next night, I got a follow-up email that said, "We really enjoyed our conversation. Please, if you have any questions about the courses or about the school, don't hesitate to ask." And I was in the middle of writing an email to this guy, trying to voice my concerns that this is real, that the vagary of what's required outside of the classroom, it doesn't really sit too well with me. And then it occurred to me, I thought, why not try to talk to somebody from the actual school? So what I did was I looked on the school website and I found another teacher, and I got his name and I Googled him, and long story short, I happened to get in touch with him about an hour later. I actually got him through Facebook. We ended up Skyping, and he was really, really cool. And I asked him a bunch of questions. I told him just what I just said to you. I said, "Can you give me any details? I want an unvarnished opinion on what this thing is going to be." And he told me, he said that the place is really, it's kind of like a military sort of old school institution where you have to not clock in and out, but you have to use like a fingerprint ID everywhere that you go, and so that the school knows where everybody is at all times. And then he said the administrative part was that all of your tests, all of your assessments have to be written up and submitted with a rubric to the Korean government. And this is true of midterms and finals, and I'm pretty sure it was of the tests too. So I had to have, not only do I give tests, I'm like mapping out every little thing that I'm doing in order to arrive at a grade. And that it's really, and that was pretty much the end of it for me, because I like simple things. I'm used to a more or less laissez-faire kind of a deal where I'm more or less teaching independently, and I'm only going to get interfered with or checked up on if there's a problem, if somebody's got some kind of a complaint or something like that. And I like the autonomy of that. I like being able to just do what I want to do, teach how I want to teach, and not have somebody breathing down my neck. I don't want to have to, I mean, I don't mind. I've never had to submit a lesson plan, ever, in my life. I've never had to give an account of what I was doing to anybody. And it might seem a little crazy, but I've never had any problems with that. I mean, it's not that I don't plan and that I just go in and wing it every day, although I have done that and I've had a lot of success with it. I'm opposed to being micromanaged and being scrutinized like that, especially when he was talking about forms that have to be done in a proper way. There's like a certain format, and it's got to be submitted at such and such a time and in such and such a way. I was like, whoa, man, that's way too much for me. Like I said, I've been doing this for a while, and I'm into a minimalist approach. I want to have a job where I'm happy with the way that things are going. I don't want to have to worry about all these things, answering, like constantly having to answer to somebody else, and especially where the government is involved. It all turned out to be way too heavy for me. And he said that it was by far the worst part of the job. I could believe it, because I look at that stuff and I say, nah, man, if there is a possibility that I can get a different job, even if it doesn't pay as well, that doesn't involve all that red tape, administrative kind of stuff, I'm going to take it. I'm into teaching to teach. I mean, I really do have my students' best interest in mind. I want to see everybody succeed. And he was also telling me about the students, how the students are this really high caliber, super stressed out group who will do whatever you tell them to do, and everybody cooperates, and there's no, and that didn't sit well with me either. I mean, I know that to some people that would seem like a dream job where you just say what to do and students automatically do it. I kind of like to have to work for that a little bit. I like to be a salesman of it. I mean, I don't want kids who are disobedient and things like that, but I like the idea of being respected because I've earned their respect, and that I've convinced them that what I have to say is of some importance, and that they listen to me because they feel that I'm worth listening to, not just because they think that they're in school and they think that they should. There was something about that really turned me off. So after hearing this and seeing the potential hassles with it, topping it all off with the fact that I'd be moving to a foreign country and uprooting my whole life and not speaking the language, I just thought, nah, man, this isn't for me. But I came really close, though. So I had to write my letter and politely decline the opportunity. And who knows, maybe they weren't even going to pick me anyway. But it sounded to me like they were interested in me after the interview. And I felt like a big weight had been lifted once I sent that letter and that it was finally done. But I came really close. That's my story of coming close to teaching in Korea. It was just a little update, just a story that I thought was worth sharing. If you want an international job, you got to ask a lot of questions like that. Don't be afraid to ask, because there's nothing where I can't imagine moving to a different country and not liking it, and then having to fulfill my contract and have to stay there in spite of having a less than ideal time. Maybe that's cool when you're young and you're fresh out of college and you really want a new experience, but I was just thinking, man, that's just not for me. The hours would be too long for me. I'm not really into that. Like I said, I'm on my game when I'm in the classroom, but the outside of the stuff, even grades, seriously, even grades, I gotta say, grades to me are kind of just an annoyance. I know that it's part of it, and clearly the students have to be judged according to some kind of a rubric and scale, but none of that stuff really appeals to me, and I don't think that it attracts good teachers necessarily. I don't think that makes for good teaching. I think it makes for good administering, and what's more, I found that the principal didn't speak any English, so anytime, if I had any problems or anything, it was limited in the people who I could contact. So if you're ever trying to get an international job, come ready with these questions. Know that you want a principal who speaks your own language, and find out what all the little administrative duties are. Get a very detailed explanation, or be ready to ask for a detailed explanation of what's required of you outside of the classroom, because it might save you a lot of heartache down the road. It could be a really bad decision if you go into it blind, or aren't really thinking about these things when you try to get a job. And that's it. That's all I want to say. I thought it was worth sharing. Hope you like my story, and that's it. Take it easy.